Hello everyone, I hope you're well. I've got a new video here with 5 brand new, just released scents that are either part of the second wave of fall Bath & Body Works, Slatkin & Co. scents, or perhaps a few of them are test scents, I'm not entirely sure. I did purchase these from my local test store, but I didn't speak with anyone as far as getting any information as far as if any or all will be releasing nationwide with the full launch come early September. Um, when I went there, they had just these 5 only in these 4 ounces, and they probably had, at least on display, only maybe 6 to 8 of each of them. They were all pushed together at the back of the store on the side in a white barn, and so, lots of candle space, but they had these all sort of out of the way, tucked in the back. I'm not sure if that's because they just got them in and they just don't have the floor set for them yet, or if they are tests that they're just sort of throwing back there to see if people, seek them out and find them. So this is probably going to be, I'll be honest up front, probably going to be a somewhat long video because I am really have a lot to say about these ones because to me they're super interesting, and I want to compare them to some similar scents or not so similar scents from this year and last, because I find the second wave of scents or test scents always to be a little more interesting as far as, again, sometimes you'll get the scents that are super strange that a lot of people are going to hate and a few people will love, and that's where you really luck out with things like, for anyone who loved the lavender caramel, lavender macaroon from last year, or some of the things this spring with honeydew and thyme or tomato garden. 2 years past, older scents that I loved, eucalyptus citrus, toasted almond, even lime ice, really. Things that just never made it wide that were really interesting or fantastic scents. So, anyhow, as I was saying, so there's that, but there's also the marketing side of it that I think is interesting to see what they're trying here. Like sometimes it'll seem like test scents, there will be 2 scents that it seems like they're testing against each other, that maybe one of them will be big and go wide. For instance, in the spring they had the tea, not even tea collection, but just they had a peachy tea, and they had the Raspberry Sun tea, and Raspberry Sun tea sort of seemed to go wide where it hit most, not all stores, but most stores, whereas Peachy tea, as far as I know, never made it out of the test stores. So sometimes they'll compare, or they'll do 2 similar scents and see which one hits, and then that'll be the one they take wide. So I really don't know, again, which, if any of these are tests, if they'll fail, if they'll succeed, what will happen, but I'm here to review them and compare them for you. So again, getting into this here, we've got toffee glazed popcorn, blueberry pumpkin patch, farm apple cookie, roasted pumpkin butter, and chocolate bacon cupcake. With these, I was expecting all of them from the list that have been going around on Facebook and things like that. With these, I believe the only ones left now to release with the fall collection would be Sweater Weather, that I discussed in my last video with the Bonfire Maplewood review that I did, as well as Cedarwood Oak. There's some information out there that I don't know. I haven't confirmed it myself. I don't really have sources or anything like that. But some people are saying that with the Fall Home Fragrance event on 9/15, Saturday the 15th, that there will be a free gift with purchase where it will be supposedly a 4-ounce free candle, which is impressive because usually in the past they've only done the little minis. Last fall they had, for the holidays, they did I believe it was 3 candles, 3 of the minis when they were plastic, so they were $5 value back then. So it would be impressive for them to do a free 4-ounce candle. And supposedly it's going to be what they're calling pumpkin carvings, which is, from what people are saying, a repackage of pumpkin patch. And oddly, they're saying that pumpkin carvings will only be available as the free gift with purchase on that day, and it won't actually be released for sale in the stores. It's just going to be a promotional item. Sounds similar to things they did last year with Twisted Peppermint, where it was available for 1 week for no specific reason. It was just a quick release. I guess pumpkin carvings may be the same way, and it may be a repackage of pumpkin patch, which wouldn't be surprising. I love, love, love pumpkin patch, so I'd love to see that happen, but we don't know. But I saw that there's a blog out there that I saw linked to from the Facebook Bath & Body Works timeline, and it's a girl who, I guess, maybe she has a source or she has someone that she knows within the company that gives her some really, some good insider info as far as things that are coming out. She's, I believe, one of the folks who started the list of these fall scents as far as, a few weeks ago or 2 months ago, listing what would be coming. And the blog is shoppinsweetheart.blogspot.com, shoppin without a G on it. So it's definitely worth checking that out. She's got, she's got things, if you're interested in the Bath & Body Works body care items as well. She has a lot of info on that, which I'm not super into that. I'm more the home fragrance, but she definitely covers, the whole gamut for all of that, so check that out. And anyhow, let's get into this so it's not a super crazy long video. I've sniffed all of these. I've tried to compare them to some other things. Some of them are kind of confusing. I'll say right off the bat that there are maybe two that, well, there's one that I love, there's two that are decent, and then two that are not so great, and one that's just terrible. So let's go with first, if we focus. Hello. Let's first go with Blueberry Pumpkin Patch. Super weird. And these, right off the bat, these are all the Bath & Body Works lids. They're Slatkin & Co. I'm not sure what collection they'll fall under, but they all have what we're used to now as the Slatkin & Co. large black Arial font, which of course Tina Divalicious hates that, which I've got to admit that the labels with a crazy big plain white font are growing on me a little bit. But I think that's because I'm really loving the photos they're using. They're not using like some weird, cartoony drawing or something like that. They're using really nice, either stock images or something that they've, gone out on their own and taken. So, but I really like that. I think it's great. It looks nice. The notes on this one are: harvest the inviting scent of autumn's pumpkins, perfectly ripened blueberries, and vanilla praline. So, okay, pumpkins, we've got tons of pumpkin scents out there. Of course, sweet cinnamon pumpkin, pumpkin cupcake, creamy pumpkin, formerly pumpkin patch we had. Now, this is not at all pumpkin patch with blueberry in it, which is what I was hoping, since we haven't heard of pumpkin patch coming back, except for maybe the pumpkin carvings as that limited release. And also, I could be wrong, but I thought blueberries were a summer harvest. I thought, raspberry, blueberry, strawberries, blackberries were all sort of like the May through August sort of fruits. That's when they're cheap and abundant in the stores. So I didn't ever think of blueberries as a fall scent, but I guess because it's a bakery item, maybe they threw that in there. So let me sniff this. It's interesting, but again, I just don't know why they're throwing blueberries with pumpkins. It's not ever a scent that I would think would go together. I can't even think of any desserts that have blueberries and pumpkins. It's not bad, it's not great, it's not very strong. I'd say the main note I get is blueberry. I think, as most folks know, berries in general are pretty hard to duplicate authentically in home fragrance. It usually tends to either go super artificial or super candy. We haven't really seen blueberry with Slatkin & Co. I don't know if ever, actually, but maybe within the Summer Berries candle from last year that really I don't think had any. There's also a berries and cream test scent from probably 2 years ago that had a little bit of blueberry. This is definitely, the berry scent you get is blueberry, but it's somewhat artificial. To me, it kind of smells like the blueberry you would get in a cereal. So not so much like a fake candy blueberry, but more of like the powdery blueberry in Special K, Blueberry Special K or something like that. There's not much in the way of pumpkin to this. Certainly not spiced pumpkin. There's no spices in here whatsoever. It's pumpkins, blueberries. The vanilla praline is not a creamy toffee sort of vanilla, and it's not a strong vanilla. And the praline, I believe praline is a candied pecan. I'm not positive of that, but I think it's generally like a nutty sort of caramely thing. Yeah, this, to me, I think, in my opinion, it shouldn't go wide. It kind of, to me, falls flat. I don't know why you would really need this scent. It's mainly, yeah, I get, again, these things, and this could be better or different in a 3-wick, because you definitely do get a stronger scent throw, even when they're not lit. I find usually in the 3-wicks. I'm really trying to dig some wax out here to get a scent. Yeah, I'm getting like a creamy blueberry with a little bit of fall something, the praline to it, I guess. Interesting. Again, I like they're doing something different, but not a huge fan of that. And I like blueberries and I like pumpkins. Moving on to, unfortunately, what is, for me, by far the worst. This is toffee glazed popcorn. So we see essentially, like a Cracker Jack caramel corn in there with what looks to be peanuts and popcorn. I was surprised to see this after we had, of course, salty caramel and then salted caramel sort of redone for the fall. So many scents that they did last year and again this year are, and I said it in one of my other videos, just like a random mishmash of caramel and toffee and gooey and creamy and brown sugar melted over butter, and just sort of, not that there's anything wrong with those sweet kind of gooey scents, but I feel like they never really do them justice very often. They're just kind of notes they throw out there that a lot of times aren't even very strong smelling in the candle. So with toffee glazed popcorn, it reads, the yummy scent of caramelized toffee and warm butter drizzled over freshly popped popcorn inspired by fall evenings by the fire. Okay, so what we're looking for is caramelized toffee, which I believe in itself, I think the definition of toffee is that it is essentially caramel. So I don't know if there's toffee and caramelized toffee. So let's just say the sweet gooey toffee, and butter, and popped popcorn. So let me get a whiff of it. I'll take a lid first. Man, I don't know. And then here, the white wax. I hate to say this because I usually find something in all scents, but to me this is as close to quote unquote unscented that I've ever smelled with a Slatkin & Co. candle. I mean, there's just nothing going on here. That's not to say I believe that there's literally nothing going on there. It's just the whatever oils they're using, whatever they've thrown in here, it's all so incredibly light. Like if you think that, say, White Barn No. 1 Nutmeg and Spice is light, or if you think, gosh, any of the sort of, kitchen spice or creamy nutmeg or, the light vanilla scents, if you think those are light, this is like barely, I'm like rubbing the wax, digging my finger into it, trying to smell it with the lid, and I get so little. What I do get, I get a little sort of creamy sweetness. I get no butter if you're looking for a straight, butter that's not a sugary butter. No popcorn whatsoever. I thought getting into this it would be, popcorn. I thought it was going to be a lot like a salty caramel from last year, the really, really strong one. It was just like gooey warm, like that, or like the maple toffee sticky pudding cake thing they did last fall that was the recipe winner. That was strong, that was intense. We know they can do those sort of sugar bakery maple scents strong, but I mean with this I get no popcorn, I get very little caramel even. What this smells like to me, the first thing I thought of was Ice Cream Shop from the Boardwalk collection, which I brought out here so I could compare it. Now the notes are kind of similar, interestingly enough, even though they're so different different scents. This is vanilla, toffee, almond, and this is caramel toffee, butter. Okay, really that's it, and popcorn. So they both have toffee. This one kind of inexplicably has toffee in it. This one is named Toffee, and they are similar. I thought Ice Cream Shop had a super light throw, sort of along the Summer Boardwalk line, but lighter. Because I enjoyed Summer Boardwalk, like many of you did. But to me, Ice Cream Shop fell flat because it didn't really go anywhere. It was just sort of the creamy, milky toffee without really sticking to any one thing. And to me, comparing those two, they're super similar. Oddly, again, I'm hoping this is just like my nose is off tonight, or it's smelling completely different in the 4 ounce than it will in the 3 wick. But to me, it almost seems just like a light almond hand soap. Like not even a Bath and Body Works, but like go to the drugstore and get some national drugstore brand of creamy almond shea soap, moisturizing hand soap, and that's kind of what it is, like a shampoo, a little bit of a fresh, not exactly almond, but just sort of soapy. I don't know. Super, super strange. I don't know what the deal is with with toffee glazed popcorn, but I cannot imagine that people will like it. If people love it, then I'm crazy. I don't know. Getting into the third one, which I promise you I'm saving my favorite two for last, so I'm not going to be, I'm not hating this entire video. But let's get into Farm Apple Cookie. So we look there. It's very similar, reminiscent of the apple crumble photo, where it's just, you know, like a little old-timey bakery artisanal thing with, you know, a little jar of whatever. Notes read as, the enticing aroma of a treat still warm from the farmhouse oven, sugar cookie with cinnamon and tender red apple, nutmeg, and creamy vanilla. So there's a lot going on there. I wasn't sure what to expect. Farm apple, I was thinking, okay, we're going to be... I actually was thinking more of like the, of course, either the new farm stand apple or the autumn apple from years past, or maybe, of course, apple crumble, which apple crumble is probably in top 5 fall scents for me, especially now that this year's is burning well. It's just such an accurate apple, but not your typical red fall apple. Just so, I mean, you've heard me gush about it before. I really do love that one. I was hoping this would be similar to that, only with more of the, I'd almost say snickerdoodle. If it's sugar cookie with cinnamon, then I was thinking, okay, snickerdoodle or whatever a farm apple cookie might be. I've never been super impressed with their cookie scents. I didn't love oatmeal raisin cookie. Homemade cookies is okay, but doesn't exactly smell like cookies to me. It's sort of more just a generic bakery base is what I get from that. So farm apple cookie, though, I hate to say it again, but it's another miss, only because... So the first thing you get is definitely apple, and there's a little bit of a spiced cookie in the background. But the problem with this apple, now it says a red, is it Red Delicious or just red, just tender red apple? It's not at all the true, genuine, authentic apple of either autumn apple or especially apple crumble. To me, it's a candy apple, but not like a fair, like an apple with red candy coating on it. More of a Jolly Rancher green apple candy, or it reminded me, oddly enough, of last Halloween they had a hand soap that I think was called Sour Green Apple or Green Apple Candy or something with a little baby skeleton dancing on it. And that sort of artificial candy green sour apple is what I'm getting in this, which doesn't work at all. If they want to do a Granny Smith or Macintosh, something, that's great. That's what we get in apple crumble, and it works. But in this, it just hits the nose a little too sharp and comes off as artificial to me. Now the cookie base, from what I can smell of it, I like that it's there. So it's supposed to be a sugar cookie with cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla. So the vanilla they're throwing in there, creamy vanilla. So not vanilla extract, but they want a creamy vanilla. I do get some of that. What's weird, one thing for me that I've never really talked about with scents as I'm describing them is that they always sort of have like the same way that a musical note has like a different sort of spectrum to it that hits different places, in the ear. I feel like scents hit different places of the nose, and the cookie base is like maybe 30% of this, and it's a very low level, of course, notes, they always talk mid notes, high notes, dry down, whatever, but to me, like, literally, I feel like I feel it in the nose. It's a very low level, 30% of the scent, and then it's like kind of empty in the middle, and the top of it is just that intense artificial apple. So it really doesn't, it's not very cohesive to me. It's just sort of there all together, a little bit of the generic, nutmeg, cinnamon, vanilla thrown together. Again, it could be better in a 3-wick, but it's certainly not going to give apple crumble a run for its money any day soon. So, away from the ones I didn't like, as I'm negative here, moving on to the top 2 for me, which surprised me. Both of them surprised me. First, we've got roasted pumpkin butter, which I love. It's like some hay and like the little tiny squash pumpkins it's like a white striped pumpkin. I love the photo. And the notes on this one are the scent of a fall treat from the local farmer's market, whipped pumpkin, toasted cinnamon, and creamy vanilla butter. So, of course, pumpkin butter, not butter with pumpkin in it, or just, you know, baked pumpkin item. But pumpkin butter, if that's what they're going for, it would be a roasted pumpkin. So you've got your pumpkin, you roast it, and I'm sure everyone has had from, you know, your farmer's market, they call it apple butter or pumpkin butter, and it's essentially just similar to making a jam or marmalade or preserves, without, I believe, maybe without the gelatin and added sugar. There's sugar in it, but it's more of almost like a super thick, dark applesauce is what pumpkin butter is sort of like. Or I'm sorry, apple butter is like, and pumpkin butter, same thing. So it's like, think of like a thicker, heavier, sweeter, less jelly-like sort of super like handmade preserves is sort of what pumpkin butter is, if you're not familiar, if you weren't sure which way this was going to go with the scent. But a lot going on as far as that, because we've got the whipped pumpkin, toasted cinnamon, which we've never heard, and creamy vanilla butter. And let's take a whiff of that. It surprised me. It's really, really good. It's not super, super intense. Oh, but it's such a good blend of all of those notes. They really hit like this one just right where it needed to be. Definitely get sort of the whipped pumpkin, where I love sometimes when they throw the whipped note in there, because it really does seem to be a different sort of airier, rounder scent when they have something that's whipped. So, and then you've got the toasted cinnamon, which there's definitely some cinnamon to it, but very light. It's not a spicy cinnamon that you'd get from Sweet Cinnamon Pumpkin or from Pumpkin Patch or anything. It's very light with cinnamon. Creamy vanilla butter. Yeah, I definitely get sort of a creamy, you know, dairy, like the creamy vanilla that's sort of a base in so many scents, is evident here as well. It's just, man, I think it's going to be so fantastic burning. Now, I want to compare this quickly. I know the video is really dragging on here. But smelling that, I was trying to think, okay, is it more, you know, pumpkin cupcake, sweet cinnamon pumpkin, creamy pumpkin, pumpkin patch, what is it? Because since I know obviously not everyone has access to smell these scents, I wanted to try to compare them to scents that you may know or you may have smelled before, and try to give you maybe like what I smell them in my head is sort of a percentage. So for instance, in my last video, the Bonfire Maplewood, I said was like, you know, heavy on sort of the same feeling as like a winter cabin with a little bit of a Deck the Halls in there, that sort of thing. So I wanted to sort of think what I could do with roasted pumpkin butter. So I'm just going to quickly try to run through here. So I'm smelling it again, sweet cinnamon pumpkin. When I compare that, sweet cinnamon pumpkin is like, whew, super, super cinnamony, almost artificial. Ooh, definitely nothing like that. Pumpkin cupcake, it's similar. Now, pumpkin cupcake I wasn't a huge fan of, and I didn't think it had a whole lot of scent throw, for me at least. They're similar in the sort of the buttercream is sort of the, you know, that vanilla, a similar pumpkin, but definitely pumpkin cupcake smells cakier. Not as rich and creamy as roasted pumpkin butter. So then you think, okay, maybe it's like a creamy pumpkin, which of course we've got here, but it's not. Creamy pumpkin is much more heavy on, I would say, the sweet caramel, and just that really like gooey richness of the warm cream. So you definitely get straight up cream, some ginger, and caramel with the creamy pumpkin. And then roasted pumpkin butter, it's not quite so bakery. I want to compare it to, say, I've got a pumpkin patch here from last year that I'm going to hold on to. Unfortunately, it looks like we won't be getting it back, but it's got some of the like natural harvest scent to it that pumpkin patch has, where it's not going for as much bakery, spicy, basic scents. It's more, almost more authentic, like what you would truly smell like a pumpkin would smell like. I get some of that same note in this that I get in pumpkin patch. Pumpkin patch, though, the notes on that one include spicy cinnamon, fresh pumpkin, creamy nutmeg, whipped butter, and brown sugar. So definitely you've got the whipped stuff going. Whipped butter versus creamy vanilla butter, whipped pumpkin. So it's sort of, I'd say it's almost a mix of the best of pumpkin patch and creamy pumpkin. Not quite as intense as either of them. Less spicy, less milky, less creamy, but just really good. There's just a little bit of spice to it. That cinnamon, definitely warm, rich. I really love it, and I'm surprised myself because normally when I describe something as being creamy, milky, a little bit of spice, something you can't place your finger on, I'm not usually a huge fan of them, but with this one, it just really works for me. I love it. I hope it comes in 3 wicks. I hope it goes wide. I think it's really, really great. It's the closest thing I can get to pumpkin patch as far as replacing pumpkin patch if that's not coming back this year. So let's get moving on here as this super crazy long video, I apologize, to the star of the show for most folks. I think the one that everyone is saying, what are they doing with chocolate bacon cupcake? Now, to me, this didn't surprise me when we heard about it. Years ago, I tried a candy bar by Vosges, Vosges, I believe. It's like an artisanal, expensive, to be honest, candy bar company or chocolate company that has a boutique here in New York. I think they may have started in Chicago or something like that. And they have one of their big sellers was a bacon chocolate candy bar, and it was a chocolate bar with I think it was little chunks of salt and little tiny chunks of real pieces of bacon, like tiny little bacon bits, but not as crumbly as the bacon bit that you see at like a salad bar, but an actual tiny little piece of, almost like a teeny little chunk of jerky is what you could think of it as. And I have seen also chocolate bacon cupcakes along the way before as well. Like anything with bacon, people are like, oh my gosh, how can you throw a savory item into the sweet item, or how can you do bacon? But I mean, let's face it, Americans love their bacon, and any sort of chain restaurant you go to, you're going to see bacon on the latest, trend. The latest thing they're doing is going to have, a slab of bacon on it. So why not, go with the cupcake? So it didn't surprise me when they were doing this, especially since they've done so many this fall and so many bakery, and they're going for pumpkin cupcake and whatever. It didn't surprise me that they were doing this, but I didn't think it was going to be good either, and it has surprised me. So first, we'll get into the notes. Savory farmhouse bacon meets dark cocoa, creamy buttermilk, and rich caramel in this uncommonly delicious combination of sweet and salty scents. Okay, so they're telling us don't be freaked out with sweet and salty. They're not so much throwing the cake on here. They're saying more bacon, dark cocoa, creamy buttermilk, and caramel. So they're not throwing the cake note out there except for in the name. I smell it, and it really works for me. To me, the associate in the store said she didn't smell the bacon, but that's to me the top note in this. Now, it's not what you think of, like, it's not your generic, it's not your artificial bacon scent or like a greasy pork scent or flavor. It's much more the smoked. So if you've ever had like a really, like a sandwich, like a really good sort of freshly made, I don't want to say artisanal for lack of a better word, but like a sandwich from a sandwich shop where it's like a really good, you're paying for like $14 or something for a really good quality sandwich with good ingredients. And it includes bacon, and it's usually like a smoked applewood bacon or a thick slab, some sort of heritage bacon or something. And it's not super greasy, it's thick, it's more meaty than a gummy, chewy, like rippled, curly piece of bacon. That's what I get from this, is definitely that smoked sort of applewood scent to it. But not to say a liquid smoke or just a generic smoky scent, because it's not a woody, smoky scent. That's top. And I definitely get a really rich cocoa, which I haven't loved their dark chocolate mint or their mint chocolate. I feel like they haven't done well with chocolate scents in the past. But with this one, maybe because the bacon is sort of hiding it, or is taking center stage, the chocolate or the cocoa is hidden a little bit for me, but it works. Definitely I get the dark cocoa, the creamy buttermilk, not just like a not just milky and not just like a devil's food cake or a red velvet cupcake, but it's not super, super cakey. It's definitely more like you're getting the cocoa, you're getting the creamy buttermilk, maybe a little bit of caramel, and you're getting, for sure, the bacon. I think it's pretty interesting. As far as chocolate bacon cupcake goes, I think they did pretty well with it. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, really, other than, give it a try. If you think you would like a chocolate bacon cupcake, I think you'll like this. You're not gonna, if you're just hoping for a sweet, fudgy sort of chocolate cupcake, that's not it. It is very much a dark cocoa chocolate with not the drink, but cocoa as in cocoa powder, mixed with the smoked applewood. Do they call it applewood in here? They just say farmhouse bacon. Like a smoked applewood bacon is what I get from it. So, anyhow, this is probably my longest video now here, and it seems like the less sense I do, the longer I talk. But to review here, so we've got chocolate bacon cupcake, farm apple cookie, blueberry pumpkin patch, roasted pumpkin butter, and toffee glazed popcorn. By far my favorite out of these 5 would be roasted pumpkin butter, followed probably by chocolate bacon cupcake, mainly for the uniqueness of it. Then blueberry pumpkin patch, followed by farm apple cookie and toffee glazed popcorn, which are both major misses. I'll certainly buy roasted pumpkin butter in a 3-wick, and maybe even the chocolate bacon cupcake in a 3-wick. The other ones, I'm not so sure, but again, your mileage may vary. You might smell it, might love it, might be different in a 3-wick. We'll have to see. Anyhow, I have gone on and on. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or want me to, compare this to something or sniff it to something else or answer any questions, please do comment below. I'd be happy to do that. And hopefully we'll see the next round of test scents come out. I think we've only got a couple left for the fall, and then leading into, probably just another 4 to 6 weeks from now, we'll start getting some of the holiday scents, which is crazy, but they definitely will start coming into the test stores sometime in October. So I guess until then, take care, and thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.